Reddy made mathematics YouTube training videos. Teacher and teaching assistant training for early years foundation stage. This week we're looking at readiness for mastery and we're going to continue our look at how tens frames are developed. In the previous session we looked at so many different tens frames. We looked at the range of tens frames prepared by a company called Propeller. We also discussed creating our own in class, having large scale tens frames that children could stand in, having ones made out of different sizes of boxes that could be created in class, and also obviously printing off and creating our own smaller scale tens frames. Have it as a major part of your early years setting, so there are tens frames everywhere in different orientations and using different scenarios and starting points for the children. Try and make them as relevant to the children as possible, as engaging as possible, and you're going to get so much out of them. In part 2 of tens frames, we're going to look at filling a tens frame completely and what happens when we have a full tens frame and what it's actually worth. We're also going to look initially at a little song that takes tens frames into subtraction. We're going to look at the biscuit tin. So I hope you enjoy this session and you start to see how the use of tens frames can be developed. I hope you enjoyed looking at the tens frame in so many different ways. That tens frame can be a bus, it can be a rocket, it can be shark's teeth, it can be a jail cell, it can be a farmer's field, it can be pretty much anything you want. Really explore, have fun, create your own tens frames back in class, let the children come up with ideas for what the tens frame could be, and then get used to putting things in the tens frame in different ways. Obviously the conventional way of 5 and a bit is the most important, but then move things around like we did on the bus. So you're seeing different arrangements of how the children could be sitting and so on. The biscuit tin is another number fun song which allows the children to actually get involved in subtraction at a very simple level, like early years subtraction, but with the answer sitting there in front of them so they can visualize it straight away because of the tens frame arrangement. The song's fairly simple, kicks off with 10 biscuits in a biscuit tin, one little hand dives in, the biscuit's gobbled up, and that leaves 9 biscuits in the biscuit tin. That continues all the way until there are no biscuits. What I want you to do as you watch this song is look at the image and how this can be used and paused to question children and ask them what they think is going to happen next.
Oh, look, Gav, it's the biscuit tin.
Oh, great! I love biscuits.
I wonder what type of biscuits are in the biscuit tin today.
Mummy's cookies, and there's 10 of them.
Way!
10 big biscuits in the biscuit tin. One little ham went diving in. Gobble, gobble, munch, munch, gobble, gobble, crunch. That left 9 big biscuits in the biscuit tin.
Mummy says we're not allowed in the biscuit tin.
But they're yummy.
Okay, I don't think I can resist. 9 big biscuits in the biscuit tin. One little hand went diving in. Gobble, gobble, munch, munch, gobble, gobble, crunch. That left 8 big biscuits in the biscuit tin.
At this point, there's loads of questions we can ask. How many biscuits have gone? Who's taken the biscuits? Where did the biscuits get taken from? How many biscuits are left? How do we know how many biscuits have been taken? Can you explore what the biscuits look like that are left in the tin? Just say what you see. Just talk about the number in front of you. Where do you think the next biscuit is going to be taken from? There's masses of questions you could be asking. We can see clearly the 5 on the top and the 3 on the bottom. That's standard tens frame image of 5 and 3. We can also see the 2 spaces that have been taken up by biscuit number 1 over here and biscuit number 2. As the children eat the biscuits throughout the song, you'll find they don't eat them in exactly the same way. As the piles start to develop, you can see they do both have 4 biscuits, and as the whole tin gets eaten up, you can see that one's now gone. You can ask the children each time, who do you think is going to take the next biscuit, and hopefully they'll get that bit right. And at the end, let's just see what happens when all the biscuits have been eaten.
Went diving in, gobble, gobble, munch, munch, gobble, gobble, crunch. That left no big biscuits in the biscuit tin.
There's none left. Gav, I've had 1 or 2 or a few. How many have you had?
1 or 2.
No big biscuits in the biscuit tin. Then our mum came walking in. Gobble, gobble, munch, munch, gobble, gobble, crunch. Now we're Banned from biscuits in the biscuit tin.
Oh no! Now we're banned from the biscuit tin.
I think you ate more than I did.
No, I don't think
I think
did.
you did.
No, I didn't.
Now, it is interesting because I've actually asked the children many times this question following this activity: who ate the most biscuits? And most of the times when I ask this, the children, without counting, say that the young boy in the yellow t-shirt ate the most biscuits rather than the boy in the red t-shirt. And I think it's just because of the way they're laid out. It is interesting. These ones in a straight line. I'll say, who do you think? The boy in the red, the boy in the yellow. And more often than not, most hands go yellow. And we ask them why, and we say, there's more biscuits. And when we count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Having said that, there's definitely been occasions when the hands have gone up and they've said, they've both got the same, because they took them one at a time, and I've had that explanation as well. And then we've double checked it by counting the biscuits. Again, great song, really good use of the image, and you can easily do that yourself back in class. You don't need biscuits in the biscuit tin. 10 big cupcakes sitting on a plate. I want to give one to my mate, etc. Or 10 big cupcakes sitting on a plate. Eating a lemon one would be great. And that would allow us to use the cupcake resources that we've been using earlier on and doing exactly the same activity. With the backing track, you can change your own, you can change the lyrics to suit your own resource that you're using for the activity. What we've just done is looked at a range of different tense frames. But the one that I've talked about a lot and used previously in the other training is the egg box. The egg box, if you haven't got the opportunity to print out various tense frames or you haven't got the facilities in class to have those, it is definitely worth getting hold of some egg boxes. They don't have to have eggs in them for a start. You can actually order them as egg trays from places like Amazon. I created my egg boxes, these ones, by ordering 100 egg trays and just cutting them down into this particular shape. So they're not expensive to buy. You don't have to spend a lot of money on eating eggs. In the end, you end up creating egg boxes such as these. These are great because certainly at early years, you've now got something you can keep things in. Before you start moving on to the traditional tense frame, you've got something that you can fill. Now in Key Stage 1, as we've looked at previously, we use cubes. And we develop that as we move all the way through the primary school. So children by year 1 have got the cubes, they've set out in there, and by this stage, they should know really quickly, I can see 8. There's a 5 and a 3, there's 2 less than 10. We use those throughout the year, we develop it into more and more egg boxes, and so eventually, very quickly, how many counters? 18. How do I know? I've got a box of 10, I've got a box of 8, I've got 18 altogether, and I need 2 more to make 20. If they've done this sort of activity with other resources in early years, and they've got used to filling the egg box or the tens frame, then you can develop that in year 1 really effectively. What we are going to do is we're going to use the egg boxes with the gems. The gems are really nice because there's something really visual we can use. The children could use them as well. And again, this could be anything that you've got in your class. As I mentioned earlier, conkers are a really good resource in the autumn term. Children can get them really easy, and again, they fit beautifully into the egg box image. So what I can start off by doing is just asking the children to show me a number. Can you show me the number 6? So we can now, again, get the counters or the gems and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I've deliberately colour coded that one so we can see the 5 and the 1. The children, the more they do this sort of activity, often start to do it that way as well. 5 and 1 makes 6. Alternatively, you might fill them this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now again, you can see the difference between the two images. We've got the vertical images of 6, we've got the horizontal image of 6. Which is the best? It doesn't really matter. As I say, in the UK, we tend to go for this approach, where we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we put 1 underneath. That tends to be the way, because we always count from left to right, top to bottom. In the Far East, they tend to do it this way. They tend to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then start the new line over there. I think the general thinking behind it is the numbers get bigger as we go up, which they do. So we're actually creating almost a number tower, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we start a new line to make 6. Long term, it doesn't really matter because both images can be inverted. So this one can become a horizontal image and that one can become a vertical image. But just encourage the children to fill one side and then to develop the other. Once we've got used to the 5 and a bit image of the tens frames, the 10 frame style, as we referred to in the first session, what we can then do is start to look at numbers in different ways. And this is where the real power of the 10 frame comes in. You can see there the image of 6. The image on the left-hand side with the reds, you can see straight away is that 5 and 1, and I can see 5 and 1 is 6, and 4 more would make 10. If I look at the right-hand side, I can see another image that's also very, very familiar. This is often referred to as the numicon image, or the dice image, where you can see the 6 as 2, 2 and 2, or double 3. That's another lovely activity to play with the children. Just rearrange your counters, rearrange your gems, rearrange your conkers, you know, whatever resource you're using, and show me 6 in a different way. Now, in the later sessions, we are going to look at specific numbers and look at how they can be built up in lots and lots of different ways. But just as a starting point, from a tens frame, I can show this really easily. If I just move those 2 over there, I can now see 6 is 2 and 2 and 2. There's still 4 spaces. If I move my red counters, again, what I can now see is that 6 is 4 and 2 with 4 spaces. It's just a lovely way of exploring what does 6 really look like. It's also using the power of an image that's controllable, where I can actually fit things inside it. Now, what we eventually realise, using any tens frame, whichever one I use, I'll just use the red one for the time being, is that at some point that 10 frame is filled. What have I now got? I've got a full frame. I've got 10 ones and I've got 1 10. If I take 1 out, I'm now into subtraction, and now I can see 10 subtract 1 leaves me with 9. Again, that will link in with the fingers activities that we saw earlier on. If I take 2 out, I can take 2 from there and I can see 8, or I can take 2 from there and I can see 8. And these again are the 2 best images of 8 that a tens frame will give you. I've got a full 10, I take away 2, or I spend 2, that leaves me with 8, which is the 5 and 3 conventional image. If I take the 2 from there, I can see 8, but I can now see the numicon or double 4 tens frame image as well. So again, that's something else you can build up really effectively with the children. You can do the addition, and you can also do a little bit of subtraction with the images. One of my general favourite activities that the children really enjoy doing as well is every child fills a 10 frame. So you've got all your children sitting in front of you, each with a tens frame, and what we then do is we get that idea of I've got 1 10, but I've also got 10 ones. 1 10, 10 ones. 1 10, 10 ones. And I can get the children to shout the same thing back. Hold your 10 frame up. What have you got? I've got 1 10. Bring your 10 frame down. What have I got now? I've got 10 ones. Practice that several times just so the children get used to that 1 10 being 10 ones. 1 10 being 10 ones. Probably at some stage, maybe moving into year 1, but probably towards the end of the year or later in the year in foundation stage, the children can work with a partner. What they've got now is they both hold up the tens frames together. What have we now got? 2 10s, and those 2 10s are equivalent to 20 ones. So it's 2 10s, 20 ones. 2 10s, 20 ones. 2 10s, 20 ones. I normally always do that with my fingers to show the ones. So whenever the children see me do that, they know what I mean, how many ones are there. So we can now see there are 20 ones. Now just going back to the original image and just focusing on that for a minute, we've held it up, which is 1 10. We've put it down, which is 10 ones. Let's just pause on that image now. Just have a look. What else can you see apart from 10 ones? What we can also see, hopefully, are 2 5s. As well as 2 5s, we can see 5 2s. And that's a lovely way of extending the children's thinking skills. We can see 10 ones, but that 10 ones is 2 5s, and that 2 5s is also 5 2s. Again, this is more year 1, but if we extend the activity now, I can now see I've got 2 10s, I've got 20 ones, I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4 5s, and what I've now got are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 2s. The children that really get the hang of it just do it really quickly. They go 5 2s and another 5 2s must be 10 2s. 2 5s and another 2 5s, I've got 4 5s. You've got all of those things that you can just see by looking at the egg box. Again, these can be done with standard tens frames like the sheep and the school bus, but it's much easier when they're self-contained and you can hold them up and there's not things flying about all over the place. as you've just seen, I do apologise for the sad pun, we've been mastering mastery with excellent images, and the egg box, when it's full, gives the sense of one whole number, the number 10. What does the number 10 look like? And when the egg box is full, rather than looking at the specific numbers inside, we can look at the number 10 and talk about it in different ways. As we've just seen, every individual in the class can hold their egg box up. They can show me the 1s and the 10s, and that can then be developed into the 2s and the 5s. We've got 1 10, 10 1s, 2 5s, and 5 2s. You can see here, when it's the 1 10, as we've just looked at, you just hold up that full box. Every time that full box is held up, it's a 10. When it's 10 1s, I've kind of separated the ones here to demonstrate, as I use with my finger, putting a little circle around it to show 10 1s. Then we're looking at it very specifically. We've got a line of 5 here and a line of 5 here, which gives us the 2 5s, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2s. So we're looking at it either vertically or horizontally. Lovely little activity. Once that's been referenced enough times, children will just know that a 10 is made up of 1 10, 10 1s, 2 5s, and 5 2s. Let's look how that then develops if you're working with a partner. Again, the children hold up their 10s and show us 1, 2 10s, 1 10, 2 10s. That's just the 2 full boxes. That's developed then into each child circling like we did before, that 10, oops, and that 10, and therefore we've got 20 ones. So 2 10s, 20 ones. And you can see the individual little ones there. It's very similar to doing it with an abacus. As soon as you've got an abacus, which we are going to look at on day 3 and beyond, you'll see the 10s and you'll see the ones at the same time. What we're now looking at is that vertical idea of both children looking at the egg box and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s. You don't need to colour code them like this. It'll generally just be one colour, but you can see I've just colour coded it to make it easier to see. Last but not least, I suppose the greatest depth. And again, if you look how the egg boxes have been rearranged now, when we're looking at the 5s, we put them next to each other and look that way, vertically, whereas when we're looking at the 2s, we're looking this way. So there's 2 ways to do this. We can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 2s, or, well, we know there's 5 2s in that box, so there must be another 5 2s. That gives us 10 2s. We can move beyond that if you want to look at 4s as well, and so on. There are, other numbers we can look at. For example, if we look at this one, we can also see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 4s. If you want to go a little bit further with it. The final extension of this, which I generally do more in year 1 than in early years, but by all means have a go in early years as well. If you do want to go beyond the number 20, obviously you work as a table. Again, in Key Stage 1, this generally works better, where each of the children in the table have one egg box. Let's imagine there's 5 children on the table. They'll hold up the 5 egg boxes and we'll go 5 10s. Then they'll bring them down. That's 50 1s. Then they'll put them together and they'll look at 10 5s and they'll look at 25 2s. Again, I think that's a little bit beyond most children in the early years, really. But children will explore bigger numbers, and certainly the 5 10s and 50 1s is something that many foundation stage children are able to talk about. As I have mentioned, though, right at the start, early years now isn't really about 50 or 70 or 80. It's about real security in numbers to 10, and then a good understanding of the numbers from 10 to 20. But there's nothing wrong with exposing children to larger numbers and letting them see, what does 50 look like, what does 70 look like. And that can be done both with the tens frames and also with the abacus really effectively. Moving now to greater depth with children at early years. Again, this can be done with anything, but I'm just going to imagine I've got flowers now, and I want to put the flowers into flower beds. And I'm just going to say to the children, I want to plant some flower beds, but I want to be able to see them really clearly. I want to know exactly how many plants I've planted, and how many flowers I've got. Do you think we could arrange those flowers in a really easy way so we can see them and exactly how many we've got? And what I'd hope then, again, it could be colour coded, but it doesn't need to be. But I probably will put some similar colours together. Again, these come from the company Sweet Counter. I've now put my flowers in a 5, and I'm then going to start another row underneath. 6, 7, what can I now see? 5 reds and 2 purples. 8, that's 5 reds and 3 purples. 9, 5 reds and 4 purples. And 10. I've now got 5 reds at the top and 4 purples at the bottom. I'm going to create my next flower bed, which is going to be a lot more random. And I'm going to put my 2 blues there. I'm then going to put a pink and another pink and another pink. So I've now got 15 flowers. So I've got 5, 10 or a full 10. I've got another 5 over here, which gets me to 15. And then I'm going to put, I'll put the purple there, put my blue there, I'll put my red one there, and my orange one there. So this one's a much more randomly arranged. How many flowers altogether? 10 and 9, 19. How many more flowers do I need to make another flower bed? 1. I can see that straight away. How many blue flowers have I got? I can see 3 here. I can see 3 pink. I can see 1 red, 1 purple, or 1 orange. Some children like to swap them because they want to see a little bit more consistency. So I can swap that one over there and swap that one there. So I could do it like that. And again, it really doesn't matter. I might even like to swap that one completely. I'm not on the blue one, so I might like to arrange it like that. So I can see I've got 2 blues, 3 pinks, 1 red, and 3 purples. I've still got 19. I can move the flowers this way, where I can now see the 3 pink and the 3 purple. So I've got 3 pink on the top row, I've got 3 purple on the bottom row, I've got 2 blue on the top, and I've got 1 red at the bottom. You can see what we're doing now is we're actually building up number bonds for all different numbers. We've got a 5 and a 5, a 3 and a 2, a 3 and a 1. We're using those subitizing skills that we talked about on the PowerPoint earlier on. We're using that visual that we can see any number up to 5. And just have a little play. Again, it doesn't need to be flowers. Anything you've printed off from the internet that's colour coded that the children can arrange and just talk about the number. Again, we're going to look at that one in the final session, how to see numbers in different ways.
Thanks for joining me for Tens Frames Part 2. I hope you found it a useful session and seen how it's developed from yesterday's Tens Frame session, where we looked at different types of Tens Frames and different kind of visuals. What we've looked at today is developing that into full frames and looking a little bit more at the idea of tens and ones as well as individual parts of a tens frame. If you have enjoyed this video and you haven't seen yesterday's, please take a look and just look at some of the activities that have been developed there. And it might also be worth having a look at yesterday's bonus video where we had more of just a PowerPoint presentation that took you through very, very simple early tens frames activities, and also looked at how tens frames templates can be used to give children a visual understanding of numbers up to 10. So do have a look out for both of those. That was Tens Frames Part 1 yesterday and the Tens Frames bonus video as well. Hope you've enjoyed the early years sessions so far this week. Please join us tomorrow when we're looking at representations of numbers in many different ways. I really look forward to seeing you then. Thanks very much.